Okay, Nick, here's what I want you to do this weekend for me. I want you to basically update projections with purchase orders. So, to do that, there's a couple things you're going to need. One, you're going to need to open up the purchase order folder, and this is the Adzana folder, and you're going to go to the purchase order log, which is a Google Doc. Open that purchase order log, and here it comes. And the purchase order log is quite extensive, as you will see. We'll go all the way to the bottom. And what I want to do is start with the bottom and work our way up. So we'll go all the way to the bottom. And we are at, we can just start at 810, that's fine. So what I've done is I've created a folder or thing over here that says, right here, entered on projections. And what we're trying to do is the projections we'll open that next. So I'll show you how to do this. And there's going to be questions, I'm sure, so just do what you can. But if we go to projections, we're going to go to finance folder, we're going to go to projections, we're going to go to JC Gallo Adzana version 7. The difference between version 6 and version 7 only has one of each type, where version 6 had every single building in there, and it just got to be too complicated and too much work. So what I want to do is, here's our current projection sheet of where we're at on the building or on the job. And this isn't right. We're trying to get it right because there was just a lot of information that was incorrect. So if we go to the purchase order log, we're going to see that 810 and 810 is for A&L Construction, and it is for $193.98. It's for treated pine, threaded rod, nuts, and washers. So what we're going to do is go to our projections, and we're going to go to the Great House, because I think that's what that was for. Yeah, Great House. And basically we can open this up to see where they cost coded it to, but I think that we kind of know that it's going to be a rough carpentry. So if we go into here, we go to the rough carpentry line item, and basically the purple means that it is an estimate. Okay, if it's black, that means it's good, it's a purchase order or some sort of contractual agreement. And if it's blue, that means that we didn't purchase it, it was purchased from Adzana. So if we go to insert rows above, we're going to just enter the information here, and it's going to be a purchase AL Construction, purchase order 810, and it's going to be for treated pine, threaded rods, nuts, and wall. Treated pine, threaded rod, nuts, and washers. Okay, great. And we're going to make that black because it's not an estimate. It's something that was actually purchased. And we're going to go over to our committed cost. And since it is a committed cost, we're going to enter it in, $193.98. And we're just going to copy the formula down here so it adds in correctly. And then it's going to show our gain loss on that particular thing. So that's that. And then we'll go back to our purchase order log and we'll X that it was entered into the projections. Now, you might want to open these up and just, make sure that this one's very simple, so I don't think we need to open it up and just double check it. But you might want to, just to make sure that it's the right thing. So this next one is a wet dry vacuum. This is so really insignificant, but just for the purpose of tracking it, let's just throw it on there, and just for the purpose of saying that it's on there. So that was, they charged it to the Great House. I would put this under general construction. So if you enter something in a new line item, you're going to have to kind of make sure all the formulas work. So I'll just copy something here, for example, just to change it out. And essentially we have a wet dry vacuum. So this is AL construction, and this is purchase order 809. It's a wet dry vacuum. And this is probably silly that we're even entering this in, but I'm just doing it for example. $100.58. Now, I forgot to say one other thing, Nick. Let's look at this. Well, let me enter this in and then we'll look at it. So basically we want to do a sum, get those formulas working correctly. You want to double check all these formulas because sometimes they get a little bit off. And I want it to be consistent formatting throughout. So all the formatting needs to be the same for each line item. And then those total up, and we show gain loss on that. Okay, easy. And then let's do this too. Equals this plus change orders for total. That's in projections. And then it's showing here. So what I want to do here is why I'm saying to go back and look at it is we actually want this to not include GST, because GST is carried elsewhere, but the problem is our purchase orders are covering GST, which is inflating the project by 12.5% when they actually have that covered elsewhere. So if we go back to the purchase orders, we can look at AL construction, and it was for the Great House. So it should be in here, 809, wet dry vac. Here it is, the purchase order. And we see, and it does include GST. And it's in Belize. So just keep in mind, Belize is a 2-to-1 exchange rate. So just keep that in mind. So it did include that. So let's go back to our number here. And it's 158 US dollars. This is all in US dollars. And we're going to times it by 0.885 because the purchase, that $100 actually included the 12.5% GST. So this is basically like deducting the 12.5% GST because I don't want to carry that. And it shows it's 89. And then what I would do here is just excluding GST, just so they know. Because some of these are going to include GST, some are going to exclude it, but really we want to exclude it from this. So that's that. And then we can go back and look at the other one that we did, which was in rough carpentry, which was this, 193. It was 810. We go to 810. Open this up. And this one probably did include GST as well. So yes, it did. So we will take the GST off of this. Excluding GST. Times that out. Okay, so there you go. So that's all updated. So where the confusing parts might come in is, well, let's go back to here, purchase order log. Where it might get confusing is when you have beach villas or anything that is not on the list. So I agree, that does get confusing, and that's something we're trying to figure out. So what I mean by that is, these are 1-bedroom lagoon villas, and this one was added to there. But for example, this 2E, well, this is where it gets confusing, because I'm not tracking a 2E on here, but we need to be able to say what is our total amount that should have been spent on each particular type. So the idea is, when I look at this, since we're only tracking one for projections, we're not going to do one of these for every one. So the idea should have been is basically when we have a building, we should be buying the same things for each building. So in theory, if everything's for 1C or whatever, it just should be multiplied out. So what I think we can do is, that's going to be a little confusing, and we need to think about that. So if we look at this, we see OSB plywood is for a 2E, and we're tracking a 2A. What I think we should do is just, for now, I want you to ignore anything that's not in one of these early buildings. I think that's what we'll do. For now, just let's not put that on the sheet, but anything of one of the buildings that we are tracking, we should put it on the sheet. So either Great House, this is 2A and 2C for Plysom, so we just need to look at what that is and then divide it by 2. But that's really what I want you to do this weekend. If you could spend some time going through this and updating this document, just get really as far back as you can that makes sense, and let me know what you think. And I'll be available to talk. You can give me a call.